Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. LSU got it done 42-10 against South Alabama on Saturday night. I thought the offense was very, very good. Obviously, you get off to a pretty quick start. First time LSU has scored a touchdown on their first offensive snap since Dalton Hilliard against Ole Miss back in 1982. And Caden Durham takes a swing pass, and he runs it right up the right sideline. I'm sitting there in the press box, which is obviously along that sideline. And when he kind of weaved through that first level of defenders, and the blocking up front was exceptional by LSU's players on the edge. When he got through that and he saw the seam, I mean, he put it into a gear not many guys have. That was absolutely incredible to watch. I remember, and there's a clip up on Twitter now. If you look at Chris Blair and LSU Sports Radio on Twitter, I asked Dennis Shaver, the track coach who we had on a pregame show. I think it was a season. I think it was a Nichols game. And I said, "Is he track fast? Like, can he run track at LSU?" And he's like, "Yeah, he can. I don't know if he will, but he's that fast." Sometimes the football coaches have a way of keeping their football players away from the track. But he's that fast. And I said, I really just want to see him open it up and get out in some space. And did he ever there? And nobody was catching him on that run. So that was really, really well done. And then the second snap of the game for LSU, they handed it to Durham, and he busts it. I'm amazed that even with the angle, the South Alabama guy was able to run him down. But you saw the explosiveness that Durham has. And it's evident to me that he needs to be the feature back. I realize that's not breaking news here. You're talking about a guy who's making big plays almost every week. But the way that LSU's offensive line blocks, he's the best fit. Caleb Jackson simply has not been able to get ahead of steam up because there's not a big enough hole for him to accelerate through. Josh Williams has been okay, but he's not quite as dynamic as Durham. Durham's able to see the holes, to get through them quickly, and to make big plays. And he's now shown he can catch the ball on that swing pass, plus he had a catch for a touchdown in the game against UCLA that you all saw. So he's shown you everything. He can make the big play on the ground. He can catch the football. He's getting tough yards. He breaks tackles. He's scoring touchdowns. Like he's doing everything you need. Now, I would not have told you 5 weeks ago that Caden Durham was in line to be the lead back on this team. I would never imagine that he would have gone ahead of Josh Williams and John Emery and Caleb Jackson. But at this point, I don't have a reason not to give him 70% of the snaps at running back. He appears to be the guy that is the most dynamic and is the best fit for what they're doing on offense. In the game, he had 128 yards on the ground, including that 86-yarder. And then in the passing game, he had the 71-yarder and then a couple more catches, 3 in total for 89 yards. And he didn't play in the second half. Brian Kelly said after the game that it was a foot injury. Over at LouisianaSports.net, we reported that there were multiple toes on that right foot that were dislocated. He had to pop them right back in there on the sideline. I'm sure a little bit sore yesterday and today, but you're on a bye week, so it's okay if he can take some time out. The word that Marlon Favorite, who was doing sideline for the LSU Sports Radio Network, got was that, hey, if this is Alabama or a playoff game, they probably could have gotten him back out there with some tape that night. So no issue reportedly for Caden Durham moving into the Ole Miss game. Maybe a little bit tender early this week, maybe a couple days off of practice, but he should be good to go, and I think he needs to be the lead back for this team. Another great day in the passing game. Garrett Nussmeier throws for 409 yards and 2 touchdowns. That has become kind of commonplace. We just don't even really talk about it that much because he's throwing for that kind of yardage every single week. The 2 throws that everybody does want to talk about are the 2 interceptions. And you know that Garrett Nussmeier got the reputation early in his time at LSU as something of a gunslinger, a guy that was going to take some chances, was going to trust his arm, was going to try to make some plays down the field, and he was going to turn the ball over a little bit. And that's something that they were coaching him out of over the course of his 3 years on the bench at LSU. And through the first 4 games of the year, he'd been sensational taking care of the ball. Yes, he did make a bad decision against South Carolina and throw a red zone interception, which is tough. But that was really the only bad play he had made through 4 games. I'm not going to hold it against him that he threw that pick at the end of USC game because LSU was in desperation mode. They were trying to run a hook and lateral. Mason Taylor didn't turn around. That wasn't a bad decision. It was just desperation time, and who cares? But these 2 throws were bad. They were bad reads. They were bad decisions. And they were bad throws. And the one at the end of the first half, okay. You're kind of getting close to the end of the half. But the second one, you're in field goal range. You're going down to put this game out of reach, and there was just nothing there. I don't know what he saw. I don't know what he was looking at, but he just winged it right into a ton of traffic, and it was an easy interception for the South Alabama DB. So those 2 throws were bad, but outside of those 2 throws, He was exceptional once again. I've got a piece up at LouisianaSports.net right now that talks about all the rankings that Garrett Nussmeier has nationally through 5 games, and it's really good. His statistics are phenomenal, and I think because we've been desensitized a little bit by Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, we may not give it quite the appreciation that it deserves. But you're looking at a guy in Garrett Nussmeier that is tied for the league among FBS quarterbacks with 139 completions. He's 3rd in the country in touchdown passes with 15. He's 5th in the country in passing yards at 331 per game. And he and Josh Hoover at TCU are tied for the most passing attempts in college football with 199. And so you look at what LSU's bread and butter is, that's it. Their pass protection's been excellent. Their production in the passing game has been excellent, and Garrett Nussmeier's piloted this thing about as well as you could through 5 weeks. LSU's offensive line only is LSU's 4th in the country in passing attempts, and only 4 teams in the country have allowed fewer sacks. You've got Army, who runs the option, New Mexico, who's a heavy ground team, Georgia Tech, and then you got Oklahoma State, who actually throws it the most of anybody in the country, but it's such a quick passing offense, nobody's got time to get back there and sack them. But I think for LSU to be 5th in the country in sacks allowed and throwing the ball as much as they do, that's a testament to just how good the offensive line has been in pass pro. Will Campbell graded out exceptionally well in this game. Emory Jones did not have as good a day in pass protection, but Miles Frazier was excellent in pass protection as well, and that was just all on display in the game. LSU hit 11 different receivers in the game. You got Aaron Anderson involved for 6 of them. I love seeing that. He just looks like a different player. We've talked about this almost every week now, but he keeps doing it, and they tell me that he was healthy last year and that this is simply a product of him being more comfortable with the playbook and understanding where he's going to be. That is hard for me to believe because he looks so different. He's so explosive with those cuts. He's making guys miss. I mean, he was excellent in the game on Saturday. He had 6 catches for 73 yards and a touchdown. Incidentally, let me go back and talk about that touchdown because that was back-to-back throws that Nussmeier made in that drive. The first one was to Mason Taylor in a throw. There was no room to fit the ball in, and he absolutely threw a dart down the middle of the field. I was sitting next to Brandon Taylor in the press box when he made that throw, and I go, whoa, there's no window there. And he put it in there. And then the next play, he slides a little bit to his left to extend the play and throws a seed to Aaron Anderson, who cut right in front of the safety, and he makes that catch at about the 3 and goes into the end zone. That was just awesome quarterbacking by Garrett Nussmeier. And Anderson and Taylor were the beneficiary of that. Kyron Lacey had 5 catches for 107 yards in the game. Caden Durham had the big play, obviously, but he had 3 catches. Mason Taylor, 3 catches. C.J. Daniels, 3 catches. Xavier Thomas, 2 catches. Juwan Johnson had 2 catches. Josh Williams, Kamorian Pimpton, and Kyle Parker all got in the mix. And I say all those names for a reason. Like, I want it to feel like there's a lot of guys that are involved in catching the football. It's a different team. It's a different animal to prepare for this team than it was last year. Last year was probably more difficult because you had the best quarterback in the country and you had 2 guys that you just couldn't cover. This year, you've got a really good quarterback who's playing as well as anybody in the country, but he is throwing it to a menu of different guys every single week. They're attacking you in the short passing game, in the intermediate passing game, and they're trying to attack you with the long passing game. They didn't quite connect on those as well in this game. Obviously, the one to Kyle Parker against UCLA was great, but they didn't do that as much in this game. I really believe that Chris Hilton can unlock that. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do Chris Hilton previews another time. Like, I can't. I've now done it for 2 weeks on this show and LouisianaSports.net, and then he doesn't play. And it's so odd to hear Brian Kelly on Thursday call a player probable and then not play him on Saturday. And he said it was a game-time decision. They wanted to make sure he was 100%. But I don't remember a player being probable before and then not playing.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I do think that before the season started, we talked about Hilton and said the Ole Miss game is maybe a likely scenario that he returns for just because of the way the schedule works out. So it sucks that we didn't get to see him, and it would have been nice because I think he would have had a great chance at blowing the top off on that South Alabama defense. But at the end of the day, if we can have him for Ole Miss, that'll be more important.
That is what they'll do. And look, this kind of put a bow on LSU and South Alabama. We'll talk Saints when we come back, and we'll do some SEC stuff the top of hour number 2. But I said on Friday they needed to go out there and put together their best body of work thus far, get to that bye week and get prepped for Ole Miss with all your goals still right there on the table. And to me, that's what they did in this game. They played their best game on defense. Yes, I'd rather play your best game against USC, but they did it against South Alabama. And you still played really well on offense. You went. I mean, look, offensively it wasn't perfect, and certainly the turnovers hurt. But your first 4 drives went for touchdowns. Then you threw 1 3 and out in there, and then you had a touchdown on your next drive. So 5 of your first 6 offensive possessions did go for touchdowns. You played your best game. You are making improvements. I think it would be difficult to say you're not making improvements on defense. And you've still got an opportunity. And as you look at this, and this is a bit homerish, I will grant you, but I don't think it's unreasonable. A bit homerish, not unreasonable. Does Ole Miss look like a world beater after Kentucky? No, they couldn't block Kentucky at all, and they got beat on their home field. Like, that game is still difficult, but it looks less difficult today than it did on Friday. And then you look at Vanderbilt, they're Vanderbilt. You look at Arkansas, they're not great. Texas A&M's not a world beater either. Oklahoma has really struggled on offense and was quite fortunate to get out of Auburn with a win. Like, those are not world-beating teams. LSU can match up with those teams on any given Saturday. Alabama looks tough. That's going to be a difficult one. Trying to stop Jalen Milroe is going to be very hard. But LSU has a shot here to play some really meaningful football in late November. And they did their part this week to make improvements, to stay relatively healthy, and to get to that bye week playing better than when they started the season. And Brian Kelly's teams have all gotten better as the season's gone on. Last year's offense was way better in November than it was against Florida State. The team that lost Florida State in the Superdome in New Orleans was not near the team that beat Alabama 2 months later. There has been improvement steadily with every team of Brian Kelly's throughout the year, and I would expect this one to be no different. So if you can keep taking those baby steps, keep improving, you can be in the mix. If they can go out there on a Saturday night in Death Valley and handle Ole Miss, all of a sudden it is not misguided for us to start talking about whether or not this team can make the playoffs. I would tell you right now, as I sit here on September the 30th, that LSU does not look like a playoff team to me. The margin of error is too small. The defense is outmanned at times. And I think that they have multiple losses left on their schedule. That's the way I feel today. But if you start looking at the games one by one, and you look at the steady improvement that LSU is likely to make, it's on the table. It's on the table. And that right there in itself is the beauty of this new playoff. In a 4-team playoff, LSU is cooked. They wouldn't be able to run the table and get there. In a 12-team playoff, with that quarterback, that offense, and all your toughest games in that stadium, okay, it's worth kicking around a little bit on a bye week here. They got to get better because they're not good enough right now to be that team. And I don't think they're going to get there, but they can. And they needed to make a statement and play better football on Saturday, and I thought they did that against South Alabama. Final score was 42-10. Solid effort on both sides of the football, and that's kind of our look back at LSU and South Alabama. If you're looking for LSU football content, you can always find it on YouTube. Hunt on LSU is our LSU YouTube channel. It's all LSU football all year round. Recruiting and team coverage. It's only football. If you're interested in that kind of thing, go to YouTube, type in Hunt on LSU, subscribe to the channel, and those videos will populate right there on your home page. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.